YouTube, Ozick, going the Goat House is back with my updated NFL playoff predictions heading into Week 16. We're almost there. Cannot wait for our playoff content here right around the corner. In this video, I'm going to give you my playoff teams right now. I'm going to give you the round-by-round predictions through the Super Bowl, but we're not done there. We're actually going to circle back. I'm going to show you how I got that playoff field. We're going to look at the teams, records, but we're going to change some things as well. We're going to change some tough key matchups and see how that changes things for the playoffs. So we'll see some different scenarios, actually. So I'm excited about this one, but we'll start with my actual predictions heading into Week 16 here. Make sure you follow that Twitter. Very, very important. A lot going on there. There's a link pinned in the comments for that, as well as our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. Links down below. I just got a new drop from the GLD Shop. Cowboys chain. They have all NFL teams. They have some NFL player jersey pennants as well. I got this new chain as well. I'm loving this stuff. Addicted for sure. So code GOAT. Check it out. Links pinned in the comments down there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn notifications on while you're here. It'd be much appreciated. But this website I'm on right now, playoffpredictors.com. It's going to help us with the different scenarios. So this is my playoff field, my actual predictions. I'm going to circle back and take a look, show you kind of how this team's out, how this team's in real quick, the records. And then we're going to change around some tough matchups because I predicted the rest of the year to create this basically. So we'll change some things around and see some different scenarios, see what happens if Tennessee's in, which we'll talk about that in a second. Can a team like the Jets get in? Things like that. Washington, Seattle over on the NFC. Let's flip the Niners and Vikings, things like that. Their seeds. So I'm excited to break this all down. But this is my actual playoff predictions right now. The toughest one to predict heading into the playoffs was Titans-Jags. Last game of the regular season, winner gets in there. That is the toughest thing. Why I wanted to pick the Titans at first is because they have the experience. They got Mike Vrabel in that situation. It's tough to see the Titans lose. The Jags, the inexperience, like them, are the Jags really going to get in? If you explain it that way, it's like you got to go Titans. Derrick Henry can run wild in that game. Maybe they don't turn the ball over 4 times like they did a couple weeks ago against the Jags, a big reason why they lost. Those reasons you argue the Titans. Why right now it feels like the Jags is because they're playing much better ball. The Titans are really beat up, and going further into that, it's probably going to be Malik Willis, inexperienced rookie quarterback, against the Jags next time. That's tough. That's tough. The Jags are getting better right now, the play calling, the coaching in general, so it's so tough. But right now I'm going to go with the Jags. And speaking of tough, that first round matchup between the Chargers and the Jaguars, insane. It's a 50-50 game in my opinion. I don't like basing things off a regular season meeting, especially an early one, but maybe it means something when you go back and look at that. The Jaguars just gave the Chargers problems. There was some sort of matchup issue, and the Jags whomped them. That was a long time ago, though. Playoffs a different ball game, but this would be a really, really good game. Is there a matchup issue for the Chargers in this game? Possibly. I don't love the Chargers coaching staff. A big part of the playoffs is correctly game planning and having a good game coaching as well. I don't really fully trust them, but the Jags with their inexperience, and the Chargers didn't make the playoffs last year either, but the Jags with their inexperience could be tough as well. They can slip up at any time. And that's a big thing for me. The playoffs is a 50-50 game for me, like a 51-49, but I'm leaning Chargers because I think they'll be I think like Justin Herbert, but a little bit more ready. Having Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa should be back. The receivers they're healthy right now. They should be healthy by this game. That's a big factor as well. So I'll go Chargers, but they're away. They had a problem with the Jags last time. That's tough. But look at the scenario. It's crazy to think. It is pretty damn realistic for the Jaguars to win a playoff game. Imagine if you said that a few weeks ago. And it very well could be the Titans in a rematch of what we just saw last week, Chargers-Titans. We'll go back to that. We're going to circle back after this. Dolphins-Bengals, I love this matchup for a team here, and that it will be the home team, Cincinnati Bengals. I think you remember how they played the Chiefs in the second half of that AFC Championship game last year, why it worked so well. On defense, drop more guys in coverage, extra DB out there. And just rush less guys. Rush 3. Sometimes they're rushing 4. And that's how they'll play the Dolphins in Cincinnati in the cold here in this game, and they'll have success doing that. But they'll also have success on offense. The Dolphins will score some points still, but I'm going to trust the Bengals. I'm going to trust the Bengals in this one. But maybe the Dolphins with their blitz and their pass rush, maybe they'll draw something up that the Bengals offensive line just isn't built for in a playoff game like this. It's very possible, but I like the Bengals in this one. Definitely like the Chiefs in this one. Ravens are beat up. They should get healthier. Lamar Jackson should play. He could have a solid game in this one, but just not enough offense. The Ravens defense has been outstanding recently. They just haven't been playing the Chiefs offense in Kansas City in the playoffs. They haven't been doing that, so I don't think they'll be able to stop them. They're not going to score a stupid amount of points, but it'd just be too much for the Ravens to handle there. Cowboys, Bucks in Tampa. I barely had the Bucks sneaking in. We'll go over that, how that went down here in a little bit. But the Panthers definitely could get in. This could be Cowboys-Panthers. Tom Brady at home in the playoffs. Cowboys are struggling right now. Could see it, but it just shouldn't happen. The Cowboys pass rush should be the difference in this game. They're the much better team this year. Got the Cowboys. Giants, Niners. I had the Giants getting the 6th seed. That win against the Commanders last Sunday night, huge. Absolutely huge. So I had them getting in here, playing the Niners. Niners defense is the difference in this one at home. And the Giants would be held to not many points. I think it would be somewhere around like 13, 10, maybe less. Niners, I don't think would score a ton of points in this game either. They'll do enough though. They'll handle the clock. They'll handle the ground game, the run game, and the play defense. It'll be a low-scoring game. Niners will take care of business. Lions, Vikings. The Lions get in as the 7th seed. I have them going 10-7. We'll go over everything at the end here, or in a little bit here. But 10-7, crazy. They're playing some really good football right now. They really built the thing the right way. That team the right way. They get in and they play a division rival, the Vikings, the 2 seed. These two teams had some good battles this year. The Lions actually won the last one. Playoff atmosphere, a little new for the Lions here. I know the Vikings weren't in it last year, but I take the Vikings at home here. I'm going to trust them a little bit more with some experience on that team. I think they would go all out. I think both these teams offensively, it'd be a pretty good shootout probably, but I trust the Vikings offense at home a little bit more. The last time I played the Lions, missing some key guys, and they were trying some different things. It was very strange, and that ultimately had them lose the game. Helped the Lions a little bit. Lions played outstanding though. But I'm gonna trust the Vikings in that one. So, and then my bye teams, if you didn't figure out, were the Bills and the Eagles. Those were the 1 seeds, and we'll see how I got to that. There is a legit scenario where the Bengals can get a much better than the 3 seed, and that can drop the Bills down to 3 when they play each other. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So the next round here, divisional round, we got the Bengals at the Chiefs. We got the Chargers at the Bills, Niners at the Vikings, Cowboys, Eagles here. So some good battles. Bengals, Chiefs. The Bengals keep beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs can't beat the Bengals. I would still take the Chiefs in this game. It would be a really good game, but I would trust the Chiefs offense a bit more here. Probably be a good amount of scoring in this one. Chiefs at home. I just have to roll with them. And they're really getting McKinnon going lately too. So another element to their offense. They met in the regular season. I think if Kelsey doesn't fumble, they probably win that game, maybe by 2 scores. But the Bengals definitely would put up a good fight. They have some matchup issue that the Chiefs just can't deal with. Jamar Chase, a big part of that, but I got the Chiefs getting the revenge this time around. Just feeling it. They'll just maybe a little bit too much scoring. I mean, both teams will score quite a bit, but just a little bit too much for the Bengals to keep up there, even though it'll be close. Chargers, Bills, I definitely got to go Bills. I just don't see the Chargers winning more than one play. Chargers, Jags, they play each other in the first round. That'll be the ceiling for those teams, in my opinion. Niners, Vikings, I like this matchup for the Niners. I'm going to pick the Niners in Minnesota because I love their defense. This will be a fun battle, though, because it's a very good offense of the Minnesota Vikings. So is it just too much offense where the Niners defense just doesn't look the same? Maybe they just can't deal with the high-powered offense. It's a possibility, but I like the matchup for them because I think they can slow the Vikings offense down and they will be able to score on that defense as well. So this is kind of the limit maybe for the Vikings because of I think they can win one more playoff game, but because their defense maybe will hold them back. But the thing I'm looking out for, Purdy. Will he continue to play the way he's playing right now in the playoffs? I'd say most likely not, but maybe not too far off. Cowboys, Eagles, they play each other this week, but it'll be Minshew for the Eagles. I expect it to be Hurts in this game. I'm going to take the Eagles. Cowboys very beat up. I know the Eagles need their quarterback to stay healthy. I think he will be healthy at this point. I'm going to trust them a little bit more, especially at home. in the playoffs. Having that home field advantage huge here. I'm just going to trust them a little bit more here, but it'd be a really fun game if both teams, especially if both teams are fully healthy, if that's the case there. But that's why I'm going to the AFC and NFC championships at the moment. Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Eagles, kind of going back and forth with these going into this video. I'm feeling the Chiefs. The Bills missing Von Miller is pretty big, obviously, in a game like this. I think it'd be a high-scoring game, just like we're expecting. And I'm going to trust the Chiefs' offense a little bit more here. I don't think the Bills' defense is a factor in some of these big-time games. I don't think it'll be a factor in this one. They'll kind of take that away. But I do think the Bills will have success on offense as well. Just feeling Mahomes and the Chiefs, making that extra play in this game. It just... can the Bills get over the Chiefs? Can they get by the Chiefs in the playoffs? A lot of things just stay the same recently for playoffs. And then Niners and Eagles back and forth on this one. Eagles just play so good against the good teams during the regular season, the big games. That's why you kind of want to go Eagles. Another reason why you want to go Eagles. Can I trust Purdy to get over the NFC Championship game? Can he get by that? I don't think he'll. I think teams will start to figure him out a little bit. Doesn't mean he'll play bad. I just don't. I don't think we can expect, he's been playing pretty damn good. I don't know if we can expect all of that. So that'd be a reason for the Eagles. Reason for the Niners, that defense. That defense is so good. And nobody's been really able to limit the Eagles too much. The Niners could possibly do that in this game. They really could give them something they haven't really seen yet. Really slow them down, make them kind of go to option. What if this isn't working? Can we get this to work over here? A different part of their game. And another reason is the 49ers run game is so dominant, especially in the playoffs, especially when they need it to be most. And the Eagles actually have struggled against teams that can really run the football. Minus the Titans, they shut down the Titans. I think it's a little different style running game here. It's tough to pick Purdy, but I'm leaning Niners. I think their defense slows down the Eagles, and the Eagles' defense, plays a pretty good game against Purdy. But I look at that Niners run game. It's so physical. It's so tough. And that is where the Eagles could slip up. I think the Niners have a really good day on the ground. I think the game's close, but I think they have a really good day on the ground, win the time of possession, and do their thing on defense. So I'm kind of feeling the Niners. It is in Philly. This one is close to 50-50 on both these games. So back and forth. Maybe I'm a little stubborn. It's kind of worked out for me in the past, though, kind of sticking with my original pick / gut, because halfway through the year, this was my prediction. It was Chiefs and 49ers. So I'm kind of sticking with it. It is hard to see Brock Purdy, last pick of the draft from Iowa State, who actually struggled a little bit in the last 2 years of his college career, was better earlier in his career. It's crazy. It's crazy, but that defense is so good. I guess a big question for the Niners is, can they stay healthy throughout the playoffs? That's been an issue for them in the regular season playoffs in the past. Chiefs, Niners. The Niners have that defense to maybe slow down maybe the best offense in football in the Chiefs, and they should be able to score on them as well. We've seen them play a little bit in the regular season. Can't really base too much on that, but it was a different ball game for the Niners defense than kind of compared to what they've done. And maybe the previous game, maybe the Eagles could be that same issue. Maybe they can just score on the Niners. Maybe Hurts' running ability is just a little bit different there. But I'm just more confident with the Chiefs in this game and getting to this game. So it gives you a bracket too, pretty nice. So that is where I'm at with my current predictions. But yeah, this one I'm so split on here. I almost could argue myself into the Eagles right now as well. But I would still go with the Chiefs in this one. The Eagles might have a better shot against the Chiefs actually than the Niners in my thinking. I think they would score more. If the Eagles play the Chiefs, that's actually more of a 50-50 game. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think Hurts would be a problem for the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have that dominant run game. That's kind of the weakness against the Eagles defense. Eagles could beat the Chiefs. It's just getting there would be huge. Beating the Niners might be tougher than the Chiefs, really. So that would be interesting there. But my original prediction was Chiefs Niners, kind of sticking with it. But the Eagles play so good in those big time matchups, and I think they would have a good shot against the Chiefs there. So kind of going. I want to get rid of these picks here, and we're kind of going to circle back to where I got to or how I got to this Not sure if I actually have to unclick all these, but here we go. All right, so kind of looking at how I got here. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so everyone can see it. All right. Playoffpredictors.com. So you see all the records and stuff on the side. So I'm kind of going back to just some big games. That Titans-Jags game, last game of the year, is just massive. So the Titans could just be in at that 4 seed just like that. Click of a button. Other games that are pretty interesting. The last game, if I had the Panthers beating the Saints, I actually had the Panthers beating the Bucks. So if the Bucks lose this one, last game of the year, the Panthers, you can see down here, I'm kind of blocking it, but the 4 seed Panthers are in instead of the Bucks. But this is what I had. I actually had Washington beating the Cowboys last game of the year. I think the Cowboys would be locked in this scenario at the 5 seed, so maybe not go all out, play their starters. Washington wins. But the same thing goes for the Eagles with the Eagles not playing all their starters, locked into a spot. Giants figure out a way to win. Still would be tough for them probably because they got blown out, or they got dominated pretty hard there against the Eagles last time. But this still doesn't put the Commanders in. The Giants beating the Commanders last week, which is absolutely massive. Looking at some the other games are pretty. I mean, I could see going to different ways. Some games obviously, but no, previous week 17, the Bills and the Bengals is a. Did I switch all those back? Yeah, I did. The Bills-Bengals is a huge one. It's in Cincinnati on Monday night. So right there, then and there, you can see the Bengals. You can definitely see the Bengals. I think the Bills zone coverage could give the Bengals some issues, and they should be able to score. So I was leaning Bills, but it very well could be Bengals. But that flips everything that brings the Chiefs to the 1 seed. So honestly, that's such a big game that can go either way. We could dive into the playoffs that way. And it changes some things, obviously. The Bills have the 3 seed. The Chiefs have the 1 seed. We still got Chargers, Jags. I picked the Chargers the first time. I think the Bills would be such a good game. Such good. The Dolphins had a big opportunity to win that game last time. I think just playoffs, so in Buffalo here. Bengals would play their division rival, the Ravens. I'd have the Bengals in that one. So see, and then you got Bills-Bengals, a rematch of that Monday night game. I just feel more comfortable with the Bills in a game like that. And the Chiefs would beat the Chargers. So we're ending up with it very well could be the Bengals. It could be a Chiefs-Bengals AFC Championship game again. But I still would probably end up with the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC Championship with that scenario there. But looking at more of the Week 17 games that we could eventually flip here, you see some picks I had. Tough one here is Jets-Seahawks. I think the matchup favors the Jets. They can play defense to slow down the Seahawks offense, which the Seahawks kind of rely on to win. And the Jets actually should be able to get some offense going. If Zach Wilson's playing, can he outduel Geno Smith? Maybe not. So I had the Jets winning that game. They still don't get it in the playoffs. And I had the Seahawks winning now, and they're still not in the playoffs. So they definitely need some help. Obviously, we can do a straight up scenarios, be like what teams need to happen. Maybe next week. But this is kind of just games I was on. Remember, I had the Panthers beating the Bucks, but I still had the Bucks getting in. So that's pretty interesting. I had the Lions getting in as the 7 seed. I have them winning out. A big one here is I do want to switch this back. What happens if the Jets win? Jets actually play tonight. I went the wrong way. They play the Jags tonight. They're actually favored. I picked the Jags. I'm not going to get every game right. If the Jets win that game and the Seattle game, which I had, they are still not in. But then it brings up to a massive game against the Dolphins, which they may have a matchup problem. It's a 50-50 game as well. So what happens then? The Jets get in, the Dolphins are out. Jets in, Dolphins out in that scenario. I'm going to go back to having I don't want to change too much in a scenario because then you're kind of creating a mess. But then you got something like this, Jets and Chiefs in the first round. I would still pick the Chiefs. Or it could be Bengals, Jets-Bengals possibilities. Well, I think the Jets would like the Bengals matchup better than the Chiefs. I don't think they would win either, in my opinion. But and the Dolphins would be out then. I had the Dolphins getting in, though. They looked pretty good against the Bills. They didn't execute fully, but they looked pretty good. So that shows us that tonight's game is an absolute must-win for the New York Jets. They very well could win it. Some other games that are pretty close. Oh, yeah, I wanted to go back to the Packers-Dolphins game is pretty big. The Packers need a lot to get in. I mean, you can look up the scenario. We're not going to go through entire scenarios here. But look at the Vikings-Packers game. I think For the Vikings, I think they're looking at this Packers, maybe they're not watching it, but the Packers-Dolphins game is big for that game, in my opinion. If the Packers beat the Dolphins, I have the Dolphins winning. Packers beat the Dolphins on Christmas. I think it's a tough matchup. They're going to catch more momentum. They're going to catch more fire. And they're going to go back home against one of the biggest rivals in football here against the Vikings, and they're going to go full go. They're not out of the playoffs. If they lose to the Dolphins, does Rodgers finish out the year? Do they give Jordan Love some snaps? So that kind of goes into the Packers versus the Vikings, the Packers versus the Lions the next couple of weeks. But if the Packers beat the Dolphins, I could very well see them win this game. It's a huge rival game in the freezing cold in Lambeau. Probably the Vikings' first cold game. They're playing at home inside this week. I can very easily see the Packers winning that game. So what does that change? The Packers, it's going to be pretty tough for them. I mean, if we want to see some, what happens if they beat they're at home, and what happens if they beat the Lions here? They still need some more help. I think something with the Giants. Here, Commanders get in. What the Commanders lose, the Packers are in. So that's what they would need. They need the Lions get in if that's the case. So you see them flipping there on your right side of the screen. So NFC East teams are an issue. So that's possible. It's possible the Packers get in. They kind of need a lot to happen. I had the underdogs, underdogs right now, but probably not then winning, because I think those teams, some teams might get screwed by the Eagles and Cowboys sitting starters. I think they would, in this scenario, I think they would sit their starters. I really do. But the Lions would be out. This would be big for the Commanders. Lions would be out. I wanted to go back to my normal scenario, except I have the Packers beating the Dolphins. The Dolphins actually still get in. They're the 7 seed. And then kind of catching a little bit of fire and beating either the Vikings or the Lions. I have the Vikings here. So then we see some different changes. We see the Dolphins as the 7 seed in there. And so not playing the Bengals, but playing the Chiefs. And then we have the Vikings at 3, not 2. And we have the Niners at 2. This is a very realistic scenario. However it happens. How we get there maybe doesn't matter, but I think it's a realistic scenario. So in this case, I still have the same AFC teams winning. Dolphins Chiefs probably be a shootout. That'd be fun. That'd be an absolute shootout there. And the Vikings play the Giants this week. I would have the same teams winning, but it's just a little bit different. And then we get to different matchups, perhaps. Oh, did I have the Jags could win that game? Same teams on the AFC as I had in my original prediction. This ends up being the same there. Obviously. So, but interesting that very easily the 49ers can have the 2 seed, the Vikings could have the 3. But let's say the Packers win this one too. Then we got the Commanders in there instead of the Lions. So Niners, Commanders who play this week. Giants, Vikings play this week in Week 16. Commanders, Niners play this week in Week 16. That's pretty wild. But that same outcome there. What if Packers don't win both those? Then we got Vikings, Commanders, which they played a really good game against each other this year. And then back to, so some similar outcomes there. But I had the Lions and the Vikings winning out, which I think a lot of it rides on this week's game, Packers-Dolphins. So that's why I wanted to break that one down a bit, because the Packers could rest some guys if they lose that game. But looking at some other things, I know the Browns this year need some help to get in. The Browns, I have them winning out, actually, don't I? No, I had the Commanders winning this one. That's the crazy thing. That Commanders losing to the Giants the last game of the last week, I should say, was huge, because I have them beating the Browns. That's a 50-50 game. And then I have them beating the Cowboys. I think in this scenario, the Cowboys would sit their starters, and they still don't get in. So what happens if the Giants, we already went over that. The Giants still get in. And I have the Giants losing the Vikings this week. Who do the Giants play? They play the Colts. It's a tough draw for Washington, because I have them doing pretty good the rest of the year, and they're still not getting in. So they need some help. What did I change down here? I guess we kept it. The same thing with the Panthers. I had them beating the Bucks. The Panthers got to beat the Lions this week, basically, or they need the Bucks to lose. They're not going to lose the Cardinals. I really don't think the Bucks are going to lose the Cardinals this week, but they need them to lose there if they don't beat the Lions this week. So, and I have the Panthers beating the Saints there, which I think that's pretty realistic, but could go either way. So that's why I had the Bucks get in. But the Panthers very well could get in, and then you see that scenario. It's the same. They play the Cowboys. Sam Darnold against that pass rush, I don't think it'd be great. So but kind of back to what I had again. And looking at how do we get the Seahawks in? The Seahawks looked like a sure thing a few weeks ago, maybe a little bit more than a few weeks ago. Seahawks winning here. So they need some help too. So we already looked at that. Who do they need to? Still not in. They need the Lions to lose. Now they're in. What happens if we go back to this? So they need the Commanders to lose. So they need the Commanders to lose at some point here. The Giants can still win a game, win 2 games because I had them win the week before. And they need the Lions to lose, which the Lions could lose 1. Panthers isn't easy this week. The Packers, if they play their starters, I think that Lions got a pretty good draw there because between playing the Dolphins and the Vikings, chances are the Packers are going to lose 1, you would think, and they wouldn't play their starters the last game of the year. Therefore, the Lions would be winning that game, getting in. So that's a pretty good draw for the Detroit Lions. Just imagine if that was flipped. I know the Vikings played the Bears. They got the divisional schedule there at the end. Imagine if that was flipped. Might be a little tougher. For a team like the Lions there. So that's interesting. Just learned that right now. But yeah, so that would be how the Seahawks get in. Kind of going back to it. Seahawks get in. Let's take a look at it. Be Seahawks Vikings would be a shootout, absolute shootout. 2 weaker defenses, 2 high-powered offense. Going to trust crazy playoffs. Going to trust Kirk Cousins a little bit more at home than Geno Smith, even though Geno's been great this year. I think the Vikings offense a little bit more explosive, but pretty damn both very explosive. So that's interesting. I would actually love that matchup. It's kind of similar to the Vikings Lions. Actually, it's pretty similar. But I had the Lions winning that one. I had Washington. Yeah, Washington. I thought, I'm like, wow. I had them winning against the Browns and against the Cowboys. I don't have them in still. It just goes to show how massive that Giants game was last week. The big, like I said, the biggest one was Titans Jags. I can just see the Titans beating the Jags last game of the year, just because of the Titans. They might get a little healthier then. They have Vrabel with his experience. They have players with their experience. The Jags, honestly, we could see them choking that. So I very well could see this. And then Chargers Titans. They just played last week. I honestly think the Titans probably should have won that game. I think it was the matter of getting Derrick Henry the ball a little bit more. The Chargers cannot stop guys like that. They cannot stop the run. And Malik Willis was actually looking a little decent when he came in, but then Tannehill came back in injured. Malik Willis might be able to run on the Chargers if they would game plan right. The matchup says Titans, but the Chargers, they did just beat them. But in Tennessee in the playoffs, I would almost go. I went against the Chargers-Jags regular season game, and the Jags just whomped them. I picked the Chargers in my predictions. I would almost flip the regular season game again. It depends on who's playing, because they've had a list of guys out. So the Chargers, but the Titans a little bit more there. I would almost lean Titans in that rematch on that one if the Titans got in. And then just to see everything else is the same over here, just to see Titans-Bills, yikes. I think they would rather play. I'd pick any of these 3 teams against Titans in the second round anyways, but I think they would rather play some other teams there than the Bills. That one I would stay the same as the regular season matchup, though. The Bills beat them up pretty good. I don't think it'd be like the same score or anything like that, but so you do see some different scenarios here. That's the good part. Hopefully I'm not. We can update this next week with more just scenarios, what needs to happen, because there is still a few weeks left. It's a little bit easier when there's a couple weeks left, but I did want to go back to that. I remember I had the Commanders beating the Browns. What happens if the Browns win? They're going to need – do I have the Browns winning out now? I had them beating the Steelers the last game, kind of a feeling there. So I had the Browns winning out. And there, it says their seed for me over here. They are the 8 seed. Who is the 7? The Ravens are the 7. So the Ravens or the Dolphins. What happens if the Dolphins lose that? Browns are still not in. Jets are still not in. Where are the Ravens at? I had them losing that game. Lose the Steelers here. Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Browns to get in, or the Steelers here. Steelers win that one, and the Steelers beat the Browns the last week. Still the 8 seed. Still not in over the Ravens. The Ravens are still ahead of them. So, yeah, there's a scenario where these teams get in. My point is we're kind of just going over mainly the realistic, the higher chance stuff right now. But you saw, if you're skimming through the video, you missed my actual predictions probably, but I'm guessing most people didn't skip over those. But what we learned from this is that the Bills-Bengals game is pretty good for seeding, pretty big for seeding. Dolphins got to take care of business. The Jets going to have to win it. They're going to have to win tonight against the Jags, and then them and the Dolphins will be a huge game, possibly last game of the year. Chargers end up getting a higher seed than I thought they would. Maybe a couple weeks ago, they end up with a 5 seed for me. So that looks pretty good. Titans, Jags, massive game at the end of the year. Massive. And it's just going to be the team that's hotter right now and the healthier team versus the team with the more experience who's going to win that one. Battle. We learned that the Eagles and the Cowboys very, very realistically could be sitting their starters that last game of the year because the Eagles could be locked in at 1 and the Cowboys could be locked in at 5. So that could hurt other teams big time. We learned that the Commanders lost to the Giants last Sunday was just massive because I have the Commanders winning 2 games at the end of the year here, losing to the Niners. But if they beat the Niners, it's just massive. So we learned that as well. So it's actually a tough road for the Commanders. The Giants are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. Teams might get screwed over the Eagles and the Cowboys sitting their starters the last game of the year, and it could help the Giants, Commanders. And if the Packers beat the Dolphins this week, that changes things for like the Vikings and the Lions. The Lions, they're in a pretty good spot playing the Packers last, though. Like make 2 other teams that are good play them first. That could help us out. They may sit starters against us. They could sit them against the Vikings if they lose to the Dolphins this week as well. So Packers-Dolphins, there's actually a lot on the line with that game. Packers staying alive. Vikings-Lions kind of tied into that as well, like we explained. And the Dolphins' playoff chances. So that's actually a huge Christmas game. And the Packers need a lot to happen to get in. The Niners could very well get the 2 seed. They almost want the Packers to win, so they try against the Vikings next week because I could see I might be picking the Packers in that game. So the Niners have a better chance at the 2 seed. Might get it anyways. Niners rest of their schedule's looking pretty good. Big question is Brock Purdy. How will he be as the playoffs approach, in the playoffs? Will teams game plan better for him? Some questions there. Buccaneers, Panthers. We can go to the team's full schedule. I had the Panthers beating the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers still getting in. So I really don't think the Buccaneers are losing to Trace McSorley and the Cardinals on Christmas. Panthers need that. Or the Panthers need this, and then they're in. Panthers, Lions, huge game. The Lions are out now since I flipped that. The Lions are out, and the Seahawks are in, but I have some other games flipped too. So the Commanders would be in. So the Commanders rooting for those Panthers this week. So the Panthers-Lions is actually a huge game. I can see that game going. I picked the Lions. It's going to be close. I can see it going either way. That's actually a massive game, just realizing that right now. So you see all the different scenarios here. This was great. This is a good learning experience, even for me. So just what to watch for makes it more exciting. So we can go back to this next week and just see what needs to happen, what's likely to happen, who's likely to get in, because by next week there'll only be 2 weeks left. We can do it the week after that as well. I can't wait for our playoff content. We always got different content in the regular season, different type of videos that I cannot wait for going into the playoffs. So hopefully you join us for all that. If you guys have any questions or thoughts on anything that you saw here, you always can contact us on Twitter. I'm always answering you guys right away. Not DM, I don't see all those, but just if you tweet at us. So head over our Twitter. We're always talking with you guys there. Check out our channel. We have a bunch of videos up, some off-season videos even. So check those out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on while you're there. It'd be much appreciated. Any links you're looking for, our sponsors, anything like that, links pinned in the comments. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.